Ready?
1 second.
It's a recording.
It's recording.
Good evening, bienvenue, and welcome to episode 29 of Unforced Error. I got it right this week.
Hey, it's true. It's funny now, like the Unforced Errors has a better feel than Unforced Error, isn't it?
Would you want me to revert to Unforced Errors? We'd have to change all the logos on
No,
YouTube
exactly. There's nothing we can do about it.
recall all the T-shirts
Yep.
and
It's
change it.
Unforced Error.
It's too costly.
Okay, Unforced Error is where we talk about the Unforced Errors.
Yes.
Yeah, continue.
And it's basically, for those who are uninitiated, it's two old guys talking about tennis and saying the things about tennis that the paid professional pundits don't dare say.
Ever.
And I'm with David Redina. Hello, David. How's your tennis life been going since the last episode?
Hello, Jim. Yes, it's been very good, actually. I'm playing very well at the moment. And we watched the great Australian Open as well, didn't we?
Yes. Are the two events linked? If you're enjoying watching your tennis, you're enjoying playing it,
Yeah,
vice versa?
One inspires other.
Like a schoolboy kind of...
Yeah, because you get really excited, isn't it?
Yeah. You go out there and you try and emulate your heroes on the court.
Even your anti-heroes like Nadal.
Yes, Nadal. We'll be talking about him later in this episode.
Yep.
We'll also be talking some very sad news about retirements.
Yep.
But first of all, joining on from the last episode, when we were talking about whether Djokovic would play, was this Australian Open more about people who were missing from the Australian Open, like Peng Shuai and Djokovic, Federer and Serena, or was it more about the people who took part?
I think it's very good to mention both. It was strange.
Did we miss them?
Definitely missed him because...
Who did you miss most?
Federer, of course. But Federer already got used to the idea that he's missing. Whereas with Djokovic, that beginning, now we know the result of all of it.
Was it the right decision?
It was bad for everyone, wasn't it? It was bad for Australia. It was bad for Djokovic. It was a political move. It was right at the time where there was
Elections coming up.
And I'm sure Djokovic didn't go there in vain. He must have been accepted somehow to go there. But anyway, what is your take on it?
My take's pretty much as it was before. Different countries have different rules and you might not agree with them, but you've got to respect them. You can't just go over and flout the rules. Should Djokovic have known them? How many people know the different quarantine rules in different countries? I think Tennis Australia and Craig Tiley in particular have a big part of the blame should go to them. You know, they must have been checking this out for the past year. What are the rules going to be? And yet they seem to make up their own rules, unfortunately. And as Nadal said, and his word has more weight after the fortnight of the Australian Open, there were simple ways that Djokovic could have played. Really, he could have taken the jab and come over. It was that simple.
It's not. It's not that simple. Unfortunately, but I agree with what you're saying.
Maybe they should have made that clearer, Tennis Australia and the government, instead of seeming to make it up as they go along when really it was
It was a bit confusing, it's true. No, it's a shame. If somebody doesn't want to take the vaccine, they have the right to.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then
I
again, Djokovic, something must have taken him all the way there. Like you said, probably Tennis Australia. But wouldn't this also have something to do with the government? Because he wouldn't come without a visa that was accepted somehow. Yeah, it's a pity. And here we are. Could he have stopped Nadal from his 21st?
I'm sure he wouldn't have rolled over and let his tummy be tickled. But then a lot of the players put up a fight against Nadal. His path to the final was strewn with bloodied fighters who really put up a battle. Who knows? We'll never know. He might have gone out in the first round with all those distractions. But my instinct tells me he would have gone deep, at least, in that tournament.
Yes. His fire inside would have made him a very dangerous opponent. So we'll never know. Maybe Djokovic will be regretting a little bit not taking the vaccine. Although I think because of his beliefs, I think he's going to stand by it. And here's another question. Is he going to take it to play at the French?
He can't win, really, can he? Because if he does take it now to play in the French and to play in the US, probably, because they're making the same noises about being super strict like the French,
Yes.
then people will say, well, he's just taking that, he's forgetting his principles just to chase glory. And if he doesn't take it, people will say, well, he's daft. All he's got to do is have this pinprick in his arm, and he'll be able to compete with the best of them. What's the big deal? I think he can't win in that respect, and it's a hole he's dug himself into himself.
Now it's difficult because if he takes it, it's kind of like, why didn't you just do it from the start?
His options are closing. There are less and less rooms in the tennis castle he can go into.
Yeah.
He needs to carry on playing against the best players.
His hope is that the coronavirus is coming to an end, and their countries already lifting the restrictions. The coronavirus passport is disappearing from some countries.
Yeah,
that's the hope for Djokovic, and I think that's the hope for me and anybody that does not want to take the vaccine and wants to live a normal life on planet Earth.
And even people who have taken the vaccine, of course, they want corona to go away, don't they?
Yes, of course.
But that would be the third way out, wouldn't it? And he's hoping.
That's the way that I hope that happens more than anything for everyone.
Yeah.
Enough with this dictatorship, and let's go back to, freedom of speech in a world where people actually have the right.
Yeah, I look forward to the days we can run over the meadows, laughing and joking without a face mask on us.
Yeah, exactly.
Into the sunlit uplands of tomorrow.
When it comes to all this, there's a lot to talk about. But, okay, so do you want to announce very quickly what happened to one of our favorite players?
Well, I'm just having to compose myself here because I'm genuinely very sad, and I suppose it kind of is not totally unexpected. But Juan Martín del Potro had a tearful press conference today in Argentina. He's playing a tournament in Buenos Aires, and he said, look, this might be my final one. This is a farewell, not the start of a comeback. This is about his third or fourth attempted comeback, and he's been training very hard. But it looks like the end of the road at the age of 33.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, I would say he's maybe my favourite player on the tour. David, I think you weren't as keen on him, perhaps. Is that right?
No, Del Potro has always been one of my favourites. Who doesn't like Del Potro, to be honest?
Yes, although when he came out, he was pretty spiky. But we talk about the big three. Some of us talked about the big four. I think if there was a Super Six, I would include Del Potro in that. He was one of the players who gave the big three some sleepless nights when he was on form.
Yes, he was. He was a force to be reckoned with, wasn't he? He was a fantastic tennis player. And without the injuries, we would now have less number of slams on all those three top masters.
Absolutely. There's only so many times they can come back. But
here we are taking a few minutes to remember a great player, Del Potro. And you know what? Even though it's a bit of a sad story, at least he won a Grand Slam and he takes some history with him.
Definitely. And when you texted me to break the news, because I didn't know, you said, so sad, only 33, which kind of shows you how much longer players are going on, because in my day, 33 was an ancient age for a player, and now it's like, he's only 33.
Unbelievable, huh?
Which brings us back to Nadal, I suppose.
Yes, exactly.
Only 34 or only 35.
Yeah. It's good that we're talking like this about tennis age, because, if I was a tennis player, I don't want to end my career when I'm early 30s. And so this leads on to Nadal. Jim, it finally happened. It was a 20-20-20 for a while.
Yeah.
And Federer went for the 21, had too much points on his serve, 40-15 against Djokovic. Couldn't do it.
No.
Then Djokovic had his turn versus Medvedev.
And didn't get anywhere near, did he? No.
Not even close. And then, suddenly, in the final 2-0 down, I thought it was all over. We were kind of doubting Nadal in a way as well. Last episode, I didn't believe that Nadal could do it. I will
Definitely. It's not his best tournament, the Australian Open, traditionally.
It's his worst Grand Slam.
Yeah.
I will not doubt him again.
No, he traditionally gets knocked out in the quarterfinals often. And yeah, I thought he'd do very well to reach that stage, and he'd probably be happy because his form in the warm-up tournaments, I know he won one beforehand, but he lost exhibition matches to Murray and Shapovalova. But he avenged that defeat in his Star Trek, rather garishly coloured T-shirt. But
Yes.
the haters on the comment website said, yeah, he won it with an asterisk because Djokovic wasn't there. But he did something Djokovic couldn't do. He came from 2 sets down against Medvedev in a Grand Slam final.
And
Djokovic could not do that.
could not
Nadal
do
could.
that.
So kudos to Nadal. You can only beat the players in front of you.
Yes, and Medvedev is a powerhouse. He is finally the player that we were waiting for sure. We've been waiting for a player that has cojones, how the Spanish say,
or balls, as we British call
Exactly.
it.
Not like the Tsitsipas's and the Zverevs that crumble under pressure every time it happens and it gets close to the end. Medvedev is not like that.
Well, I think Tsitsipas has confirmed that he's a top 8 player, but he can't quite push on. He won a set against Medvedev, and Medvedev was in rude form. Very good. And he won a great match against Taylor Fritz.
Yeah.
Tsitsipas, but he hasn't quite kicked on as much as we thought he would. He's got his chance for revenge at the French Open because he's better on clay so far than Medvedev is. So he's got a chance to catch up on that. And Zverev.
Yeah, and Zverev is the same old story. It repeats itself over and over again. The double faults. In the match he lost against Shapovalov, he was not even there. I don't know where he was.
I thought he was over the double faults. But
I don't know where he was. In that match. And he was having a great tournament. Suddenly he just gone. I think he acknowledged it in the press conference and he admitted it's his fault and he's just not there yet.
Did he make some comments about money, did you tell me during the tournament?
Yes. Maybe he's looking at the wrong objective.
Perhaps.
Or the wrong goal. But it's difficult to judge. But yes, talking about money is an odd thing for someone who already earns so much. So maybe he wants more. And hey, that's his choice. I want to go back to Nadal and say, you know what it feels like with Nadal and Djokovic and Federer as well, a little bit back in the past. But let's talk about Nadal now. At a certain point of the match, 3rd, 4th, 5th set, it feels like there's no energy meter anymore. It feels like he goes beyond fitness. This match could have been 10 sets and he would be there until the last set to win it. It's unbelievable. And Medvedev was coming back. Remember when Nadal was serving for the championship and Medvedev broke him?
Yeah.
Medvedev was coming. And
I'm
Nadal
surprised the momentum swung back immediately.
Yeah, crazy. I didn't expect that
I think Nadal has energy in a different way to how he was 21. When he was 21, he'd run onto the court, when it was time gentleman please at the Wimbledon final, he'd sprint to the baseline ready to serve or receive. He doesn't do that now. He shuffles and almost trips over. He has this way of little steps and he falls out, one of his many habits. But now he's kind of, he's not running around in between points. He's walking, he's pacing himself.
Yeah.
But he's still got that energy. It's just he expresses it in a different way.
Yeah.
He's not flaunting it so much.
It's very true. I think this time that Nadal takes now more and more and more and more, it's actually mentally taxing for his opponents. This final wouldn't have been 5 hours if it wasn't for Nadal.
Because of his
this would have been 3 hours.
Yeah.
Of course, it's within the rules, so Nadal is not doing anything wrong.
Well, yes.
He's following the time clock.
The stop clock did not catch him out, but it's up to the umpire when to start it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the umpire starting
there's a
it
conversation
too late.
there to be had. Shapovalov really was angry about it, and Medvedev a little bit at the end as well.
Yeah. Would you complain, David, if you were the other side?
I would complain.
And would that be tactical? Would you almost decide before the match, does it have an effect? Nadal seems to take the complaints very well. It doesn't seem to
I think
bother.
the way that Medvedev was complaining was good. Did you notice that Medvedev was taking extra time in making Nadal wait as well sometimes?
A bit of his own medicine.
That's what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay, look, you're in a match that is lasting 4 hours and you have to be focused, don't you?
Yeah.
It's not like in between points you're not feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
Which means the longer the match goes on, the more you have to have resistance to this pressure. If you know you're going to play Nadal, you know that you better come with this attitude where time is going to slow down and you're going to have to stay there and endure it.
Which is difficult for Medvedev and Federer and players who play quickly between points.
It is, exactly. And I think it's unfair, but it's within the rules. What can we do about it? Shapovalov was very angry, and he was mentioning in his press conference about Nadal and about the umpires giving more leeway. And this is a question I have for you. Do you think they deserve it? Leeway that the umpires give them? First
of all, the question is, do they definitely give the leeway to Nadal? Exactly. Do they treat Nadal the same as they would Jimmy Muggins?
Yes.
If he was...
For Shapovalov, they don't. They asked him that question. He said, definitely not. Medvedev said the same. Definitely not. Do you think the umpires are giving benefits to Nadal?
I think possibly, yes, they are.
How couldn't they?
It's a high-profile match. He's always on Rod Laver Arena or centre court, mostly on centre court. The cameras are trained on them. Nadal is very popular at a lot of these tournaments. And also, you've got to factor in that a lot of the matches we watch with the alleged time wasting, they're big, high-profile matches. And the rallies are very long. So maybe they cut some slack in terms of that was a 23-shot rally. This is the semi-final of a Grand Slam.
Yeah.
I would make a different decision if it was the first round of the Rottingdean Masters 1000 event. But this is a big, high-profile thing. So maybe that's factored into it.
Yeah. I think it's impossible after so much history and so many years for umpires not to have more difficult defying and going against the greats. And the other newcomers have to prove themselves a little bit more to get that kind of treatment.
Interesting point,
It's almost like, you deserve it because you've been doing so much for the sport.
Yeah, but amazing. I don't see many new players coming through and I think, oh, God, we got another Nadal or Djokovic here. How many times are you going to bounce the ball? Seems to be the same repeat offenders for years, Nadal, Djokovic and Kilic. Your body does strange things to you if you're doing the same action hundreds of times each day for 20 years.
Yes.
And I think he can't help arranging those bottles.
No, definitely. Or arranging that towel or doing little steps back to the middle of the court after the game is finished. And, one of the worst moments is where Nadal hits a net at serve. And it always starts again. That's the most
a fault
painful.
in the tennis system, isn't it? And why some people say you should only have one serve. Or if the ball clips the net, you should carry on playing instead of having a let.
Yes. So, Jim, tell me, what are your emotions toward this number 21 on Nadal's badge now?
I was pleased for him in a way because I just think it's quite a good story for tennis, even if you are a Djokovic fan, well, especially for neutrals, in that Djokovic was the hot favourite to win the tournament. He couldn't take place. You put yourself in his shoes, who would you least like out of all the field to win the tournament? And that would be Nadal, not because he hates Nadal, I'm sure he doesn't, but because now Nadal is at the top of Mount Olympus.
He is, for the first time.
Yeah, for the first time.
For the first time ever.
Yeah. So I think from that point of view, great. Obviously, I feel a bit sad for Roger. And I did think it was quite neat. They were all on the same number. That was exciting too.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe they would end all in 20.
Yeah.
Maybe this 21 spikes some extra energy for the other two.
Yes, very much so. But the extra energy for Djokovic is going to be a waste of time if he's just playing on the practice courts of Monaco while they're all they're all playing Grand Slams.
So what about Medvedev? Did you feel sad for him?
Medvedev, the tallest ever person to win a Grand Slam. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
6'6". He shares that with two other players of the same height who've won a Grand Slam.
Del Potro?
Yeah, and
Ivanisevic.
Nearly. He bounces the ball a lot.
Cilic, yeah.
Yes.
Of course. It makes sense because we're getting taller as human evolution goes by.
We are. Can't carry on forever though, can it? We'll be
maybe
like
if we
the
come
dinosaurs.
back in 1,000 years, we'll have really long necks and we'll be really high, and we already had changed all the ceilings of our houses.
They'll have to make the tennis nets higher if that happens.
Yes.
The ball's bigger. Yes.
Yeah.
What was your question? It was about Medvedev, wasn't it?
Yes. Did you feel emotion for him? Because I really wanted Medvedev to win. I was also happy for Nadal. I think it's great that he's made history.
Yes,
Even though I'm a mega fan of Federer, I've already embraced and accepted that it's difficult for him to
You've
keep
come to
fighting.
terms with it.
Yeah. But I wanted Medvedev. I mean, he beat Djokovic and ruined his dreams. I
Yep.
wanted him to ruin Nadal's dreams.
That would have been neat too,
That
wouldn't
would be
it?
awesome.
Yes.
So I was sad.
Yeah. I read an article, I think during the tournament, by a writer called Oliver Holt, who writes for the Mail on Sunday. But he said, Medvedev was complaining, why am I not in Rod Laver Arena? I'm,
Number two
number two,
in the
and I'm
world.
not there, which is something we should discuss as well.
True.
But Oliver Holt said, well, the reason is simple, he's not box office. And I would disagree with that.
Ooh.
I kind of know what he means in that he's not the kind of person I would rush out and say, in a sports shop, have you got the shirt Medvedev was wearing in the Australian Open? I've got to get it because I'm such a fan. But I want him to win. He's a great character. I love watching him. But I think it's a bit tough he's not on when other players, always get picked on centre court and Rod Laver Arena.
Medvedev is the most exciting player almost right now on planet Earth that plays tennis.
He doesn't look like a tennis player.
No, but he plays like a tennis player.
Which is why part of the reason I love him. He looks skinny. He doesn't look like he spends all his day down the gym.
Nope.
He says things like to the umpire, you really annoy me. I'm really angry. You are, how shall I say, a small cat.
Small cat.
That's brilliant. Has someone scripted that for him?
Great.
After he lost the final, this Australian dignitary got up and gave a long speech. Medvedev was just mouthing to Nadal or the camera, this is boring. And it was. We wanted to hear from the players.
It's true. Unfortunately, those guys, they're important, but nobody cares.
I love him. I love it. I'm flatly in love with him. I think he's a great player.
It is. And thank you, Medvedev, for coming finally, because he's definitely giving the tennis we want to watch. A tennis for real men. How about, because he survived the incredible match against Aliassim. Aliassim finally stepped up. Kudos to him, but he couldn't do it because that's what I'm talking about here.
Medvedev wouldn't let him do it.
He wouldn't. Medvedev has that oomph that Nadal, Federer and Djokovic have.
Aliassim would have done it, if it hadn't been Medvedev playing superb, risky shots.
He was incredible.
So, I think, very promising. He's not a player who really excites me like Medvedev does. But
a good player.
He could go home very proud. He's, he had a better tournament than Tsitsipas, really. He kind of came closer to unseating Medvedev than Tsitsipas did.
That's very true. What about the women?
We haven't talked about the women, no?
Yes, I tell you, I was very excited this year. Not only Świątek got to the semis or quarters, which was great to see, and I really like Collins. She's feisty.
Danielle Collins.
She's feisty, she's powerful, she plays attractive tennis, and she got to her first Grand Slam final. I didn't see that coming.
And what was the frostiness at the handshake at the end? I'm not knocking it. Is it just her saying, I'm not going to do all that huggy, phony stuff that other losers do?
I wonder about that, yes.
Is she like that with every match?
Maybe it's just something in her personality. She doesn't hang around. Look, the only tennis player that does not sit on what you call it breaks.
Yeah. That's really
She's
good, isn't it?
constantly standing.
Is there a reason for that? Is it medical, maybe?
I think it's just part of her energy. Resonates at such high intensity. She doesn't feel,
Well, I always say, if I sit down on the sofa, that'll be me for the next 2 hours. So maybe it's
maybe that's
similar thinking.
Yeah, a really good player. I can't believe she was 5-1 up in the second set and lost it.
Yeah, maybe that's why the frosty handshake. She was disappointed in herself.
Yeah, maybe that's crazy that she didn't win
beating
that
Świątek. That's a real achievement so easily.
Good one as well, yes.
Yeah, I think from the quarterfinal stage on in the women's, I don't think there were any 3-set matches. So the final 7 matches of the ladies' tournament, they were all straight sets. And there were only, I think, 2 tie breaks.
True.
Whereas in the men's...
On contrast to the men, it was the opposite.
3 out of the 4 quarterfinals were 5 sets.
Incredible.
And semi-finals were 4 sets.
Yes.
So that's
Phenomenal.
the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the men earned their money maybe a little more than the ladies in this tournament.
There you go.
I saw some very good matches. One match I really liked was Azarka versus, I hope I pronounced this, Anisimova. It was great. I think Azarka had match point, but they were both really going for it. It was really great to watch. Great rallies in the match. And
fantastic.
Yeah, maybe along with the Nadal Manarino, two of my favourite matches.
Those were really good matches, both of them. Anisimova hits the ball hard.
Yeah.
And she beat Osaka, which I was very happy because the more time that passes, the less I like Osaka, I must say. And here's a
Well, I hope she
side...
doesn't play to 40 because you'll be...
We didn't even say the name Barty yet, by the way.
Barty, how you... Well, yeah, I mean, yeah,
what
fantastic.
A player.
Do you
what
know?
a player.
Do you know
she deserves to be number
one?
one.
The last Australian to win it is Chris McNeil in 1978.
Yes, Barty has the game that is far superior than all the other girls around.
And maybe some of the men in terms of variety.
She can just slice that backhand and wait for all the other girls to miss.
And yet she's got a double-handed backhand, hasn't she, as well?
She has all of it. She's a really complete player.
Volleys, smashes.
She has everything.
Good at cricket.
Great serve.
Yes.
Really
the
awesome
commentators and the matches I watched of hers are obviously in love with her. She seems a nice person as well.
She's a very nice person.
But here's a stat, I don't know if you know, I don't think she's ever beaten a top 10 player at a Grand Slam. Isn't that amazing? And yet she's won the full collection apart from the US Open. She's won 3 Grand Slams and she has never beaten a top 10 player.
You know why that is?
Yeah,
it's very easily explained. Is what's going on in the women's tennis. There's
not
no
her
one
fault.
at the top forever.
Yeah. She's probably lost a few top 10 matches, I suppose, but she might not have played that many.
That's definitely a stat that's worth checking out.
Sad. It's a sad statistic that the top players don't play each other that often because you need a bit of rivalry.
That's definitely sad. But hey, congratulations, Barty. Well done. She deserves
Superb,
it. She's definitely the superior player
US
right now.
Open is the next one for her to get. She hasn't done that yet.
Okay, so side note from this conversation, I wanted to ask you, how about the comment from Osaka in her interview? They asked her what was her opinion about Djokovic's situation, and she answered, I wanted almost to quote her, but she said something like, you have to ask men about that.
Ask a male player.
Ask a male player. Do you understand that?
I think it's a pretty poor response.
It's one of the worst responses I've ever.
I like Azarka. She can be really sweet sometimes, having watched the Netflix documentary.
Great tennis player as well.
I get the impression with press conferences that she wants to write the questions herself, and if there's any question outside her approved list of questions, then it's below her, and really, the journalist shouldn't be in this room.
Wow.
But I think it was a very valid question because it's not just a question which affects male tennis players.
You have to be male.
It's a question for mankind, and when I say mankind, I mean women as well.
Exactly.
Maybe an unfortunate word, mankind. For the human race. For the human race. Yes. Because we all have this dilemma of putting a needle in our arm with some stuff that we probably don't quite know what it is. Mm-hmm. Should we do that in order to keep our professional careers going for the good of our health? So it's not a gender-specific question.
It's not.
Question really. And female players were affected. There was one who was quite happily in the country until the Djokovic scandal broke, and then she was not in the country. So it did affect the female field as well, maybe just not in such a high-profile way.
You said it's a humankind question. I think
she does herself no favours.
Yes, she doesn't. I had a lot of respect for her as a tennis player, but
great player. I love watching her play. The way she hits the ball, the way she moves.
Yeah.
But
the way she strikes.
She doesn't want to do those press conferences, but it's part of the deal, isn't it?
Hello, Ivana. Welcome.
There is an intruder in the studio.
You want to join us?
We will switch to another program while police deal with us.
Okay, Monfils. Here's a very interesting thing about one of our favorites as well. Monfils is just awesome. Every time he plays, everyone wants him to win. There was something different about him, but not only. For the first time, he said, I'm reaching the end of my career, And I'm feeling this more and more. I want to win a Grand Slam. Just one, he said.
Good. That's the way he should be talking.
That's the way. And he has the skills to do it.
Yeah, you always get the impression he'd rather entertain than actually.
Yep. And he
actually
was
win.
not doing that. This tournament, he was
no,
playing. He was serious. He was not entertaining. Really focused. I'm happy to see that he is now.
He must be
thinking about
he
it.
must be mentioned on the program because he added a lot to the tournament.
He did.
And yeah, against Berrettini, he was fitter than Berrettini, and that Berrettini seemed to pick up the injury during that match, but still got over the line in the final set.
Unbelievable.
But nothing would give me
sad.
greater pleasure than Monfils winning a Grand Slam. Wouldn't it be great at the French as well if he won that? I think it's unlikely, sadly.
Yeah.
He is a quarter-final man, and that's a great achievement at the age of 35, isn't it?
It is, yes.
His girlfriend, wife now, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think maybe he's got a new lease of life through going out with her. They
Something
seem a really
there.
good combination on the tour.
Absolutely.
I'm sure they practice together,
They do.
drive each other, and probably have helped renew his love of tennis. And we're all feeling the benefit.
He is the true Spider-Man. The guy can do the most insane pickups you will ever watch in
He's
a
not
tennis
entirely dissimilar to Djokovic in terms of doing the splits and putting his toes behind his left ear and all that kind of stuff.
And then he has more power.
Yeah, and he leaps like a basketball player. So, yeah, he's an all-action Billy Sport type character and a really cool guy, too. He's fit, but he often looks absolutely knackered in between points.
I can't believe
But then
how
he'll
that
just kind of...
play.
The next point, it's like he's scaling up the Empire State Building and he's running into row H to retrieve a shot. Superb. Love him to win.
So well done, Monfils. Here goes another one. Kyrgios. We have to talk about him.
Yeah, it ties in with
Jesus,
Monfils as these great entertainers.
Wow.
Whereas Monfils, I get the impression it's the dying of the light, really. His career's on the out, even though he says he wants to win a slam.
Yes.
With Kyrgios, I feel like it's really... That's the end in singles terms, even though he's 10 years younger than Monfils. It's always the same thing. Really encouraging, really entertaining early rounds. Then the first big player he comes up against, he wins a set. Oh, it's great, but then he loses.
That's now. He used to beat... He has actually better head-to-head against the top players. He's the only player that has that.
Yes.
But now it's like you're saying, he gets to
I've
the
just
important
come to
match
realise I just don't think he's going to...
do it.
Yeah, even a quarter-final, because...
But he won the doubles.
He did.
How about that?
He did, but it's doubles.
I know,
It's
I know.
a different thing.
Do you think this is going to change his perspective a bit?
Maybe he'll switch to doubles. He obviously really enjoyed that.
The teams, yes, he loves team games. You can see in Labour Cup.
Their opponents did not enjoy it. They saw him and Kokalakalis like a pair of dingoes, really whipping up
I couldn't even believe
audience.
they won that tournament because they played all these best doubles teams and they won it.
Well, here's my conclusion from this, as with other doubles tournaments. If you're a good singles player, you'll be a good doubles player. But if you're a good doubles player, it doesn't mean you'll be a good singles player.
True.
And I think this is what is so upsetting for doubles players, the specialists. And then the singles player just rocks up and wins a Davis Cup rubber or wins the Olympics like Federer and Wawrinka. They're not doubles players. And they can do it.
They can do it. They have the skills to. If you put Nadal and Federer for a few tournaments in doubles, they would probably win a few slams. But if you got one
of the Bryant brothers and said, okay, you got a first round match against Federer, it wouldn't work the other way around.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Anyway, because I like Kyrgios so much,
it
was good to see him happy at the end.
I like him as a singles player, as a doubles player. Yeah, I do think that it kind of brings out the worst in him, a kind of... I don't know. There did seem a bit of nastiness in the matches
They
I
are
from
weird.
them.
They are a weird bunch. I think it's the other way around. When Kyrgios plays teams, he becomes his best self. He becomes selfless, very supportive of his team, plays his best, doesn't have tantrums. I think it's in singles that he has the freedom to be nasty. But having said that, yes, there was... Maybe it was Kokonatis' influence on him. It was a bit weird. Even Kokonatis is also a very strange character. I cannot believe that every point they won, Kokonatis, I don't know his name, he just ran opposite direction from
Yeah.
Kyrgios. It was
I'd
very
be
odd.
like that. I'm not touchy-feely on the old
You would
doubles,
understand that,
all
isn't it?
jumping up and
Yeah.
rubbing chests with
Me,
each
no,
other.
I like high fives. I like looking at Mike Burton's eyes and saying, yeah, great shot.
Even after they've put the ball in the net, that's what I find so weird. You muck up the shot and the other bloke runs over and goes, good shot, and
Yep,
massages
they
their back,
always
or
encourage
even
each
pats them
other,
lightly
yeah.
on the bottom.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want that. Should they have the coaches there with them, like Tsitsipas has
Yeah, another big talk there,
suggested?
isn't it? That
Yeah,
actually that match between Tsitsipas and Medvedev complained, and they put an official just under.
to monitor, yeah.
And he
That's
somebody
a bit much, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, he understood Greek and he
Yeah.
translated
was a
and
she.
communicated
It was a she,
to
wasn't
the
it?
umpire that
And,
was
yeah.
coaching.
Yeah, and he got a warning, didn't
I
he?
think they should remove this coaching or non-coaching. I think it's no problem if somebody's coaching from the stands. Who cares? You still have to play good tennis
How much
to win.
can they really understand? Unless they
Yeah.
got set signals. I mean, like, say if you put your fingers in a little O shape, does that mean I think you should go to his backhand more often? I mean, how much can you actually impart? When I'm playing you with Dean, if you say something to me the other side of the net, I can't hear what you're saying. How could I understand if you were 20 rows back?
Yes, look, in the women's tour, the coaches come in and sit next to them and talk to them face to face.
Yeah.
And it can change things. Words can be a powerful thing. So I understand why there is a problem with coaching, because you're there alone and you should be doing it alone. But it's becoming so complicated to know or not know. Soon they're going to put officials like this.
Yeah.
You know, here's a question about the rules of the Australian Open. It started with cap of 50% max fans,
Yes.
okay? And everyone vaccinated.
Yes.
As the tournament went along and lots of Aussies reaching the semis and the quarters, they increased to 80% and then to almost 100%. Do you think that was due to because the
For the Aussies?
the Aussies were surviving?
I've never thought of it, but it wouldn't surprise me. I think Craig Tiley is a man who makes up his own rules to suit him and his friends' pockets, really. I don't think it was a successful tournament for him. The Djokovic thing, obviously, not putting Medvedev on Rod Laver, but it was slightly disappointing. I don't think he's handled things well, especially over the Peng Shui, where people wore T-shirts
That
saying,
was
where
very
is she?
strange.
You know, he wants freedom on one hand, like he hasn't got a vaccine, let him come into the country. But when people actually civilly ask a question on a T-shirt, where is this person who's disappeared in their country with very dodgy human rights records from its government, and that's banned, and then it's reversed just because of public opinion. I just think he hasn't had a great tournament. It's probably time for him to step aside for those reasons alone.
That was a very strange moment in tennis and in human history as well, because for who doesn't know the story, Peng Shui is a very good tennis player. After she made allegations that the Chinese president abused her sexually, she disappeared from the map. And ever since, the WTA has been incredible, because they even stopped doing tournaments in China because they want to protect women. Of course, I like that response from them. And here we go again to the same conversation that's been going on even in the UK. People that were against the vaccines were protesting, and then they were blocked from protesting. A new rule came in that stopped us from being able to say our minds. The world is going this direction, and this thing that happened in Australia was very strange.
Well, did you notice who was sponsoring the tournament?
That's what I was going
on
to
the
tell you
holdings?
next. Chinese letters everywhere in the matches. There was interests there. And the money is above the human rights.
Well, it's not the only place. I mean, there's a World Cup taking place in November and December in Qatar. There's a football club in the Premier League who's been taken over by a consortium with blood on its hands, really. Newcastle, if you've read about them.
Yeah.
So it's sports washing, I think is the phrase there.
Yeah.
You know, sponsors and the money and the top officials can help kind of cover up a country's dodgy, unethical attitudes by putting on a great, lovely show with everyone cheering. But there are more important things, as I've come to realize,
Yeah.
than sports, unfortunately. And sport is a great way of remembering that, really, where you draw a line and say, okay, yeah, we can't ignore this.
We can't.
We have to talk about
And
it.
it's really fucked up. If you follow the money, you will start understanding what's going on with the world. It might be our demise one day. Maybe we'll learn with terrible catastrophes. You remember when we talked about deuces and no deuces?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite subjects. Yes.
Exactly. And you came up with that idea, which was good as well. I was thinking about it, and I found a way to explain why the deuces are so important. Then I wanted to pass it by you. I think the deuces are important parts of tennis because they are turning points of matches. They are moments where whoever resists that climax after so many serves tends to deviate the match left or right. So I think the deuces are a classic and a very essential part of what tennis is. I think because we get stuck in one game for a long time, tennis match has this incredible
Peaks and troughs.
Thank you. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, yeah.
If we remove that, I think we're just going to be racing through tennis matches.
I think there would be different peaks and troughs, and other points would
There
almost
are.
become more important if you took away the juice. So there'd be new peaks and
Tell
troughs.
me one.
It's a very good point. Yeah, you're kind of turning tennis into a fast food drive-through thing. If you're not, it's all about really. If we switch to sudden death juice, delayed gratification. Really, I was talking earlier with my girlfriend about how when we were younger, kids' TV shows were just on for 15 minutes on a Sunday,
Yeah.
and we looked forward to it all day. Wow, it's that
God.
15 minutes. Whereas now, our son Niall, he could just go into the TV and say, I want to watch Fireman Sam now.
Great
It's
stuff.
just all there. There's no delayed gratification. Everything is instant. Yeah, I can see the advantages of keeping it. And it's great for tradition to continue
It is. Yes, and
as
it
well.
shows a lot of character.
Yeah.
Whoever gets out of that deuce game,
You're convincing me. I still would like the
you're going to think about
sudden
it
death
and get
juice
back to me.
and definitely trial it in non-Grand Slam matches.
Yeah. Anyway, let's wrap up this tournament. Did you enjoy Australian Open? Did you have fun? Anything that you want to mention? Amazing. Congratulations, Nadal. What are your thoughts about what Federer thinks about this? What he said in a little interview about being happy that Nadal won?
I enjoyed the tournament, especially the men's side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it goes like that. You know, it had its fair share of 5-set matches.
It was very good.
I would say it's probably not my favourite Grand Slam tournament, and I think it was a reminder of that. Just the way it was run and its similarities to the US Open in terms of night matches.
Yeah.
With this hard court, it's hard to tell between them. But as an Australian Open went in terms of the quality of tennis, yeah, very good. Really interesting subplot still going on of who's going to win the most Grand Slams. I think it was very satisfying to a neutral. In terms of what happens, the reaction to it, Federer, there was a clip that you showed me the other day where Federer was reacting to Nadal's 21st victory.
Yes, he was, wasn't it? And it's very complimentary and showing that he was very happy for him and etc.
Did you buy it?
Which I didn't, of course. I
Expand.
Yes, I really enjoy Federer's diplomatic answers. He does know how to make everyone feel great, and that's a very nice way to put it. But I think the honest answer would have been something like, damn it, I am very disappointed because I wanted to be the best of all time until the day I died, and I wanted to leave this earth knowing that I was the best ever, because that's what everybody wants when you're competitive at that level. You don't get to 20 Grand Slams without being competitive and wanting to be the best.
Okay, so I'll throw a scenario actually. Okay, you're talking about Federer saying he's really happy for Nadal.
I'm sure he is happy for him.
So there's a big tournament. You've come very close to winning the Park Singles in Brighton, isn't there? And you've got very close. You've been to the final 2 or 3 times, isn't it?
Yes, and I lost
twice. What about it starts up this year, and I haven't played it for years, and somehow, shockingly, I get to the final and win? And I beat the person who beat you in the semi-finals. I beat him, and everyone's cheering. How do you feel? What do you do?
I like the way you put it, although this is not 20 Grand Slams, so it's difficult to connect, but I would be very happy for you.
There'd be an element of you which would be going while you're watching, damn, I wish I was in this situation.
And this already happened. So I definitely have that, and I wish that it's me, the one.
It's a bittersweet feeling.
It is, because you want to be that one breaking the ice, doing it. So I think the honest answer would be praise Nadal, but show your discomfort with the new situation, because now he knows he's been surpassed. And how many years has he been on the top since he overcame Sampras? It's been
2009, so that was 13 years.
13 years as the best of all time in slams, and suddenly he's surpassed.
But he hung on longer than people thought. I think people thought Nadal would overtake him 3 or 4 years ago.
It's all because of himself as well, coming in and winning the Australian and winning the Wimbledon that year as well.
Yeah.
So well done, Federer. Yeah. And I think his answer is very nice, but he could have put a little bit of something there. Damn it. You can crack a joke even. You don't have to be bitter. You can go, You know who would have a great answer to that question? If it was Roddick with 20 Grand Slams. He would have said.
He would have been gracious and also funny, but read between the lines. And honest.
Honest. And that's what I like about Medvedev coming into the equation now. Finally, we have someone that is a bit more honest. I'm a bit tired of the great example man going out there. The Federer and Nadal are such good people. They're perfect at everything. I don't envy that. I think it's great that you show a little bit of, And we haven't seen that from Federer and Nadal ever, almost. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Some oomph there, some...
Yeah. At the closing ceremony, I think Medvedev said to Nadal, "Aren't you tired?"
Yes.
And it's a great question.
That's what we want to see.
I think Nadal was he found it funny, but he was a bit, I don't know
what to say.
I don't know what to say to that. Yeah, no, brilliant.
That's what we need. And it's a shame that Novak Djokovic didn't embrace that. Like Medvedev did, the villain, I'll say whatever I think, and you like me if you do. Whatever. And be yourself.
Being human.
All right, so it was great. I loved the Australian. I always love every Grand Slam. Whatever is. All Grand Slams could be hard court and I would still love them. Where does it come in your pecking order now? Now you've watched the Australian Open again, would you? There's no number one in Grand Slams. I like them all equally. I like that there's the variety, and I wish that the US Open or the Australian would be carpet. It's so fun to play in carpet.
Or grass. Have a second grass tournament, because grass is different in different countries, isn't it?
That's true.
The grass of Africa is different to the grass of Port Slade.
All right, so great. I'm sure we missed a lot of things that we could talk about, but I think it's good enough. Thank you very much for coming, Jim.
No, thank you.
We'll see you next episode.
Take care.